Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Longscope, and I'm very, very handsome. I wanted to take some time out of my usual gaming stream and talk. Just man to man, man to woman, however. What did you want to talk about? Never mind. I want to talk about this Star Citizen at Gamescom 2016. By now, I assume most of you have already seen the Gamescom presentation by Chris Roberts and Cloud Imperium. I wanted to cover some of what was shown, but I also wanted to talk about what this means to the game overall and how it's progressing. So let's do that. Normally, I'm already asleep about that time of day that they started the stream yesterday, and I was content just to wait and see later on in the day after I got up for work what was going to happen with uh, the announcement. But something told me I really needed to see this. Something that Disco Lando said earlier in the day about he had kind of a twinkle in his eye, and he wanted to kind of bring across that they had something big cooking. And I wasn't sure what it is, but it gave me pause, and it made me want to see what was going on. So I said, I'll sleep a little bit later in the day. No big deal. But I wanted to see firsthand exactly what CIG was planning. So the lead up to Gamescom was very, very hush-hush about what was going to be shown. We really had no idea. Myself, I speculated that maybe we would get a full Muro tour of an Idris, maybe an additional game system, bounty hunting, something similar. But I tell you, I was not prepared. The show started out a little bit late, in case you hadn't noticed. Due to some security concerns, as I understand. Just getting all the attendees into their seats took quite a long time, so they started about half an hour late. Not a big deal. I can sleep in a little bit before work. I don't have to rush. That's what I thought anyway. I figured the entire presentation would only take about 45 minutes, maybe an hour. I had no idea it'd be double that estimate, or just how much exactly was going to be shown. First, we got some information about first of all was Sandy introducing Chris, thanking the crowd, thanking the backers, getting a tear as she's now going to be known for, as she says. But we got a little bit of info from Chris about the upcoming Persistent Universe, or PU, 2.5 patch that's currently on the PTU for testing, and also some of the changes we'd expect over the next weekend, or this weekend rather, or early next week. So 2.5 opens up Grim Hex, the Outlaw Space Station, where pirates are going to hang out and respawn in the PU. If you've got any kind of a wanted level, that's where you're going to pop up, and that's where you'll get your ships delivered from your hangar. Also added some additional options for ship landings, making it easier, or in some cases more difficult, to land at stations and outposts. We'll go from a manual landing, a semi-auto assist landing, which means that it takes over just as you're about to touch down, or a full automatic landing, depending on if the station has the right equipment to basically slave your ship to the station's computers. So outposts, stuff like that, is probably not going to have that kind of sophisticated stuff. Backwater stuff will not have that. As well as some HUD changes for choosing landing areas more efficiently, which was always kind of difficult. Where am I supposed to land? Oh, here's this tiny little diamond I have to pick out. So that's a great thing. Right now, landing's a little bit sloppy. Any HUD changes regarding landing can only be a boon. Some of the improvements to the audio system were touched, very, very little, making the game more immersive, which is always a plus. And some graphics features that were recently added, like an updated lighting engine that uses less CPU and GPU resources. Now, Chris didn't touch on this during the presentation itself. That's just info that I've gathered from other sources, and I really wanted to include, just because it's really good news. Any bit of optimization helps, particularly in a game this complex and ambitious. We don't want to bring every computer to their knees, just a lot of them. Granted, in game development, most of the optimizations happen at the end of the dev cycle, after all the features are in. But if you have a big system like lighting or netcode, a foundation type layer of work, you're going to want to make improvements and optimization to that early on so you can build on top of that. So cheers CIG, good work on that. They also showed off 2 of the new ships flyable in patch 2.5, the Argo Aeronautics Multi-Purpose Utility Vehicle, or MPUV. Argo is just what we're calling it. It's a light cargo, rescue, and personnel transport attached to the larger ships like the Idris. Very cool little trailer they showed, just kind of showing it off. It looks like it's a little tractory, I suppose, would be the best term for it. Shuttle-y tractor, I guess. But it looks really good. I'm looking forward to that. The other ship that was the Misk Reliant. It's kind of a curious ship. It changes its cockpit position based relative to the body of the craft. A lot like the B-Wings from Star Wars Return of the Jedi. Always one of my favorite ships. But it swings down kind of like that. After that, we kind of moved on to patch 2.6. And the information on 2.6 was a little bit lighter than 2.5, probably just because it's still being worked on. 2.5 being a priority right now. But basically what that stated was it was the long-awaited FPS arena mode, like Arena Commander, called Star Marine, will finally be ready for rollout. Star Marine was originally a FPS test bed, rolled into the PU, simply because they had everything ready, and so they put it in the PU for testing. Well, now we'll be able to log on like we do Arena Commander and just get quick matches, which is fantastic because I don't always want to fly from one end of the system to the other just to have a firefight for 30 seconds and have to respawn. So that's a good thing. Quick play FPS, always awesome. It's like jumping into Overwatch or something. Some additional content for players is always a good thing. You don't want people getting bored. They've also mentioned many improvements to the FPS combat, tighter animations, remastered weapons, better controls, custom avatars. Finally, a big deal. Not 40,000 clones of the same guy walking around Korea Station. So I'm really looking forward to that. Lord knows I'm going to tweak the hell out of it because any RPG I've ever played, I spent the first hour and a half just tweaking my character. 2.6 also updates Arena Commander as well, which is great. It's been a little stale. They've been focusing on the PU for features for a very long time. So 2.6 will get updated flight and combat. Improved cameras for people who want to take pretty pictures of your ships, like me, or make animated stories, like Fiendish Feather does. Really good jobs of that. As well as an updated racetrack around Grim Hex and Team Deathmatch and regular Deathmatch. Always, anytime you can add more to existing systems is fantastic. It's good work. The 2.6 flight-ready ships are going to be the Drake Herald, the info gathering and info running ship, as well as the dropship variant of the Aegis Vanguard. I don't know a lot about the Vanguard. I don't own one. I haven't been in one. I haven't actually seen one in game yet, aside from very far away, so I haven't really got to take a little tour of that one. I'd like to. And of course, every time there's a con, there's a concept sale. A chance for backers to pledge and get new ships before they're ready. Kind of a sneak peek purchase, if you will. The big concept sale for this Gamescom was the Anvil Terrapin, a big turtle or tank-like ship focused on armor and shielding. It's a two-seater geared for recon at long ranges, and it is a long-range ship as well. The ship reward for a $195 pledge. And I say pledge because really that's what it is. You're funding the game's development. It's not a pre-order, it's not a purchase, it's a donation. And we'll talk about that more in a future video. The huge reveal for the presentation, however, was the elimination of patch 2.7. There will no longer be a 2.7. There's a tremendous amount of content coming and tech as well going into the patch formerly known as 2.7. So it was decided to make it its own numbering series. So they've gone ahead and changed that from 2.7 to 3.0. Now, the big deal with 3.0 is the expansion of the PU Stanton system, as well as adding the planets Houston, Microtech, and Delmar. Now, it was mentioned during the stream that Delmar was actually a part of Nyx, but they wanted to add a little more content currently, so they moved a planet. You know, we create worlds, we move worlds around willy-nilly. And also they wanted to expand the number of space stations to between 30 and 40 in the Stanton system. 40 stations in one system is amazing. That I love, because if you really want to haul cargo, you really want to transport and trade, or pirate, then that's going to be a boon for a lot of people. That's going to make the game a lot more interesting, having more than just a handful of places to go. They've also added a dozen moons and a number of asteroid systems. It's a massive content patch, which we really needed at this point. They want the systems, each individual star system to be really dense, which is great because the more density is, the more stuff there is to do. Now 3.0 is also going to introduce some of the basic professions: trading, cargo transport, piracy, mercenaries, bounty hunting. And Chris, I actually like the way he phrased it. He's phrased it as cargo, people trying to steal cargo, mercenaries who want to protect said cargo, and bounty hunters tracking people who want to take the cargo. Cargo. The way he phrased it was very amusing. I really enjoyed that. Also 3.0, they're launching the Subsumption AI system, which will be adding NPC behaviors like day-night cycles for the NPCs, jobs, shopping, errands, day-night cycles for for mission complexity improvements, economy-driven missions, like say for example, one NPC owns a shop and he's running out of a certain kind of blaster. Well, he's going to want to get a shipment of that. So he's going to put out a job on the job posting board and see if a player wants to fill it. If no player fills it after a certain amount of time, he passes it off to an NPC, and the NPC takes that job. So the economy is coming together, and it sounds pretty nice. They're also going to be introducing Item 2.0. Item 2.0 used to be called Grabby Hands when they were doing R&D on it. It's the manipulation tech that CIG created to interact with weapons, cargo, things in the world, coffee cups, statues, things on your desk in your hangar, stuff like that. I get the impression that it's not the full implementation of Grabby Hands, but what they've shown so far is pretty impressive. Moving cargo boxes around, picking up Big Bennies. Big Bennies! Now, the biggest wrinkle in the game at the moment is the network code. The network code is based off the original CryEngine netcode, which is never really designed for the massive amounts of information on individual object physics at long ranges. There's no need to know what a pencil is doing on a planet on the other side of the star system. So what they're doing, they ripped it out, they rebuilt it from the ground up, and they're putting the whole new shiny thing in 3.0. They're calling it Star Network, and this is going to be the first iteration of it. I know it sounds like a shady modeling agency, but what are you going to do? Now, most of the lag in FPS hits in the PU are caused by the netcode issue because there's so much unnecessary information being sent to every single player in the system that just doesn't need to be known. Trimming down and remaking that, what is going to be sent to clients is going to be eliminate a huge bottleneck for the game. We should see vast FPS improvements, and it should just make the game quality significantly better. Now, they also did a gameplay demo. If you're watching the full video on YouTube, it starts at 36:05 on the video. And Chris Roberts proceeds to show a live gameplay session in the new 3.0, one run by two of the playtesters in-house. The first thing I noticed right away, the animation looks far smoother than what we've experienced thus far. It just looks tighter, even looks more fluid, going from stopping, starting, walking, going into emotes, leaving emotes, much more fluid. It looks a lot better than it's done. So they've done really, really well right there. Now, at the beginning, the character wakes up and receives a video call on his mobiGlass wrist thing. PDA, if you would, wristwatch thing. It's basically a holographic Pip-Boy would be the best way I could possibly explain it. It's a holographic Pip-Boy, but they're calling it mobiGlass. What he gets on there is an offer of a job. The video is very, very cool looking. It shows right on the mobiGlass, right in the window, and it shows from the point of view of the caller's mobiGlass. So you're getting kind of an up angle at the NPC that sent it, which was a really, really nice touch. I really liked it. The fact that it made it look like a video call was it was more immersive. I liked that. That was very nice. So the player leaves his hab, and he goes to meet up with his buddy, a captain of a MISC freelancer, and they both board his ship. And throughout the video, they cut around to different POVs of the different ships and the characters in order to show how everything interacts, looking at each other and so forth. You can absolutely tell that while they planned it, the gameplay isn't just a script running in-game and running through the motions. The players jump in and out of seats. So, for example, the player we're following gets in the co-pilot seat, and the new HUD boots up, and he looks over at the captain, and he looks back. It's really very cool. Speaking of the new HUD, it's nice looking. It feels much cleaner than it used to. It's more readable. I think the colors are changed a little bit. They look a little bit better, at least in the freelancer. So the player is watching the captain and is also watching Port Olisar slide by. Immediately on the HUD, they go and pull up a rough version of the new star map. It's quite a bit like the website star map, not nearly as advanced because it's not finished yet. It looks really promising, and it looks like it's also really, really easy to navigate. Click and zoom, stuff like that. Very, very nice. It's way better than just throwing 36 points in your visor, trying to read each one, aiming at that one specific one, and then hitting go. Now, quantum travel also looks great with the new cinematic cameras. They did that a few different times, and that's very, very improved as well. And the next thing they do is they go and they travel to an abandoned repurposed mining colony on a small rocky planetoid. The planetoid's 2,000 kilometers across, and it looks amazing. This is the first we're seeing of Planets 1.0, the primary version of the planet-based system. All the moon's planets and stations are completely physicalized, according to Chris, and you can land anywhere you want. The horizon is an actual horizon, not a skybox, not a trick, not a palette, not a swap, none of that. It's an actual horizon. If you want to go land on the horizon, you fly over there and you go land on it. Very, very cool. Planets 2.0 wasn't quite ready for the demo, but according to Chris, it will be slated for the 3.0 release. It'll have forest, rivers, oceans, plants, shrubs, grass, etc. We didn't see that on this planet because A, it's supposed to be a rocky mining colony, and B, the other one wasn't ready yet. So we took, once the transition was completed, we flew from space right down through the planet's surface, and lo and behold, what happens? We run into atmosphere. And that was amazing. Quite a surprise. I didn't expect it. Started seeing little bits of flame, plasma coming right up off the hull. It was really nice. And we start taking right when we start taking friction from the air. The re-entry was very, very cool. It looked and acted like something off a Kerbal Space Program, which I know is not quite as advanced graphically, but the mechanics are there. It was really good looking, and it looked, to me, what I've seen from NASA film, it looked realistic. Very, very cool. So, speaking of landing in random places, it looks like they picked a random spot on the surface, drifted down through the atmosphere, and the atmosphere controls is also in the game. So your atmosphere, you'll get the wind will fight you if you're flying a not aerodynamic ship, which everybody said for years, why are they all shaped like airplanes? Well, there you go. Atmosphere. That's why. So you're going to fly an Aurora, it's going to fly like a brick. It doesn't have wings. There's not generating any lift, none of that. So that was a very cool thing that they did too. So after they landed on what appeared to be a random spot on the surface, the co-pilot hopped out. So they left one planet, or one station rather, traveled 1,000,000 kilometers, got out on a different planet, touched down, opened the door, and walked out. Technologically, that's amazing. And also, hilariously, they landed on the side of a hill, and the ramp wasn't low enough for the co-pilot to get back in on the first try. They had to take off and re-land again and let the poor guy back in. Personally, I think it would have been funny just to strand him there, but really wouldn't be great for the presentation. So, co-pilot gets back in, boards, and they head to Levski. The Levski is a mining station that's kind of like an anti-government hippie place, I guess. And so as they get over towards it, Levski control, you have to basically request landing. And once they did that, it triggered a video on the actual ship console on one of the HUD elements on the physical console. It was a video call saying you need to request landing permission. Once you did that, he's like, okay, here's your landing pad. Go land here and get out. It was a really nice addition having that video on the console. I really liked that. It was very immersive. And then one of the entire highlights of the presentation is when the co-pilot got out of the ship to meet the contact for the job. And after getting in an elevator and moving to the right floor, turns around, looks out the window, and he sees his friend hovering in the Freelancer right outside the window. I loved that. That was such a cool thing. The crowd loved it too. They went wild. It shows that everything in the game for every player is happening in the same time, or at the same time in the same place. It's not a trick. It's not a separate instance. No kind of lame workaround. And I think CIG should especially be commended for this. It's a hell of a thing to see in person, and it really, really showed off what they've been doing these last 3.5 years. I can't say enough cool stuff about it. It's the first concrete indication that these guys really know what they're doing, and they're starting to actually pull it off. I'm still in awe of it. Well done, CIG. This bit right here, the coolest bit, is at 55 minutes on the stream if you want to watch it. I recommend it. It's very, very cool. After that, the player goes to the bar to meet his contact, which is cool in and of itself. You're going to the Mos Eisley Cantina to look for, Chewbacca. How cool is that? So the player meets the NPC. They've got a nice little scripted, non-cut scene. It doesn't cut away from anything. It's an interaction, and he gives you the details on the job, and you can accept or decline it. Well, they obviously accepted it for the preview here. And then they said, okay, well, let's go and head out and go to the coordinates of this wrecked Starfarer. Starfarer is a large merchant cargo hauler that's been attacked by pirates. And the job is to retrieve the black box for the NPC mission giver. Only problem is it's still floating in space. So you've got to take off and go intercept it. So they make their way onto back down to the landing platform. The co-pilot boards, the player boards, and climbs into the rear turret of the Freelancer, which it just looks cool anyway. I mean, you've got a manned turret on a ship flying around. Now, when they take off, it's taken on. The view is mostly from the rear turret. So the pilot's flying away from the planet, and we're seeing out of the back of the thing. Watching the planet recede is gorgeous, absolutely beautiful, and it's completely seamless. There's no loading screen. Oh, by the way, Derek, Seamless means no loading screens of any kind. That's what seamless means. So there. So the whole thing is completely seamless. It's an unbelievable thing to see in person. The audio here was something I noticed as well. It was really cool. While they were flying around in the atmosphere, you can hear the wind buffeting and blowing up against the hull, and it's kind of a racket. But once they started getting up in the upper atmosphere, it starts to get quieter and quieter and quieter, and then once they clear the atmosphere, it was completely gone, silent. It was very, very cool. And also the music changes, the audio changes. It's very, very cool. Well done on the audio for that. I was really impressed. So, fast forward a little bit in the stream if you want to go to 1 hour 19 minutes 20 seconds. They're dispatching a couple of pirate fighters shortly after they take off, and so they pull up to the Starfarer. Well, the thing is wrecked. I mean, it looks like something out of Aliens. It's just a mess, and obviously there's no way you're going to be able to dock with it. So the player jumps out of the back of the ship and goes EVA to approach a hole blown in the side of the wreck. And the Starfarer is a big ship, and it looks like being in the state it's in, it really does look like something from Aliens. And once a player gets on board and they start to begin wading through the detritus and bodies, that was cool, floating around in the zero-G. Now the nice thing about the bodies is they're covered in frost, like the moisture has been leached out of their skin and off of their clothing, and hitting the coldness of space happened to just crystallize, and it looked really neat. It was really believable. I really liked that touch. Granted, ew, bodies in space, but still, it was very, very cool. It really adds to the immersion. It really does. And once the player's on the, again, seamless, there's a translation really to kind of an FPS, first-person shooter. So you're floating around in these little tight corridors in this dark, creepy wreck, and you have your flashlight, and that's it, mounted to your helmet. So you're floating around in there, and there's something in here with us, and it's pirates. So we do a little bit of FPS combat, and those pirates, the heavily armored one, that guy was tough. He took quite a few shots. So we fight off the pirates, and we've got to go to the captain's quarters to find this black box. Download everything. We get another video call from the NPC contact that gave us the job saying, okay, thank you. Make your way out, and let's go and find the pirates' moon base and take back the cargo. So, making our way outside of the Starfarer, they go out through the cargo bay this time instead of the hole in the side of the side of the thing. And once you go through, and this is at 1 hour 17 minutes 20 seconds, they notice a very, very large box in the bay, and it says Drake on it. So they bust it open, or the player does. He opens it up, and it's a space motorcycle, a yellow Drake Dragonfly. I love the Dragonfly. Just the concept of a space motorcycle. It's pure win right there. Very, very nice. I really like the way they did that. So, taking the boxed space bike out of one ship, the wrecked Starfarer, through some space and into another ship to park was very, very cool. Granted, there was a graphic glitch bug that Chris mentioned that causes the bike to vanish briefly from one of the players' view but not the other. They said that it doesn't happen occasionally, but they're still trying to nail it down, so not quite ready there. And it's being worked on. Now, after they dock, which is, again, for flying a ship from one place to another and docking at a different ship with its own physics is unbelievable. It's very, very cool looking. So after they get done doing that, they go to hit the pirate base on the moon. That's at 1:20 on the video. Uh, the player drops out of the back of the Lancer, still on the Dragonfly, and kind of goes down to the ground and activates ground levitation mode. Ground lev is what Chris called it. Hovering just above the surface and attacking one of the Ursa rovers that'll be on one of the um, Constellation ships. It's kind of a big. Remember the Mako from Mass Effect, the first Mass Effect? I got a little bit of flavoring of that, but beefier, like tougher, not so bouncy floaty. So there's an Ursa rover and another Dragonfly. So we've got to fight that on the surface in ground lev mode. And as soon as I saw that, the very first thing I thought is, I'm on Endor with no trees, flying a speeder bike in Jedi. It really has the same feel, and I hope that's what they were going for, because if that's what they were going for, they freaking nailed it. It was I say amazing because there was so much cool stuff in here. I can't stop saying amazing, but it felt like Jedi and it felt like Endor. All it was missing was some big ass redwood trees. Now, once they get rid of the other Dragonfly and the Ursa rover, the driver of the Ursa rover jumps out, and this is probably my favorite part of the entire presentation, and apparently wasn't planned at all. So a pirate bails on the rover and tries to take cover in the cargo boxes on the surface at the pirate base. So a little bit of firing back and forth, and Chris suggests to the captain of the Freelancer, hey, maybe you should jump out and help take out the last pirate. Well, the captain's still in the Freelancer, turns it, and uses the Lancer's gun to blow the crap out of the pirate while he's climbing up the stairs to escape. It was a great little bit of improv, and the crowd exploded with glee. And he goes, well, that's one way to get rid of pirates. I'm going to use instead of a pistol or a rifle, I'm going to use the hull-mounted weapons on my giant ship here and just blow the snot out of this guy. It was hilarious. They did a really good job at that. A little bit further in the stream at 1 hour, 29 minutes, 40 seconds, Chris talks about how much of actual real estate that this new planetary tech gives them, because it's a huge surface area. It's really, really massive. For example, I believe Lethality earlier today on Twitter had suggested that one planet, I can't even remember the name of it now. Anyway, that one planet being that it's 2,000, it has a diameter of 2,000 kilometers, is the biggest MMO landmass ever. And not just ever, I mean, every MMO combined does not equal the square footage of that planet right there. So Chris briefly talked about homesteading on the planet. I assume he's talking about making your own cities, making a home away from home, like a summer home on whatever planet you want to live on, and maybe storing items, having a shop, having I don't know about marrying an NPC family. That's a little bit Stardew Valley, but hey, Stardew Valley was great. I'm thinking probably shops, maybe houses, storage, displaying any trophies and stuff that you may have won in your adventures, stuff like that. At the close of the presentation, by the way, homesteading, fantastic idea. I think that's going to add a lot. I remember Star Wars Galaxies you could plop down a building anywhere. Well, not anywhere, but a lot of places, and you can have your own displays, you can have your own shops, you can have your own just kind of home away from home, or like a headquarters for your org. I have a feeling that my own org that I've been a member of since 2001, 3305 logo, what up guys? we'll probably use one of these homesteading bases as a place to meet up, have meetings, store things for the guild, etc. Some kind of an HQ. We've got a couple of big ships ourselves. We may use one of those as an orbital HQ, but we're probably going to want to stash stuff somewhere on planet for safety reasons, I'm sure. Um, so homesteading is a fantastic idea. Yeah, I know we just barely mentioned it in passing, but I really want them in the future to expand on what they mean, because I think that'll be a really, really cool thing. Anyway, at the close of the presentation, they started to thank the employees, the backers, the fans, and they also mentioned how that they were going to. Um, they didn't actually touch on Squadron 42 single player for Gamescom, but they were going to do a lot of that for CitizenCon, which comes up on October the 9th. And Chris mentioned, he said one thing here, and I'm gonna show you guys exactly what he said here, because I've got the video all queued up. One sec. Here we go. This is what he says.
We'll see you in the verse, and it's CitizenCon, where we got some really cool stuff. So we didn't show any Squadron 42 stuff, but we will show that at CitizenCon. And as I said, some other stuff that I think you guys will really like. So if you thought tonight was good,
If you that right there, if you thought tonight was good, holy crap, dude! Those 6 words right there made me all the more excited for October. What could they possibly have? I mean, tonight was so good. How do you top this? And my current theory, I actually have 2 theories here. Currently, I'm thinking that we'll have one or two possibilities. One more likely than the other. The first possibility is we're going to show off some of the actors from Squadron 42. Maybe they get Mark Hamill. I'm not saying it is Mark Hamill, because I don't know for sure. But Mark Hamill on a stage talking about how his shoot went and what he thinks of the game would be very, very awesome. Talking on stage to the fans would just be super cool. And Mark Hamill, just following him on Twitter, he seems like the kind of dude who would really enjoy doing that. The other possibility, and this is a what if, and this is a big if, what if they just release Squadron 42? And they said it'd be ready by the end of the year. And, they may not necessarily need all the PU features in Squadron 42 at this point. It's a single player, so no netcode. Doesn't matter. It's ship-based, so you're going to be on a warship. And Idris, if I recall correctly, flying sorties for your captain. We know the animation's done. We know the capture's done. Planetary doesn't matter because you're going to be in space flying these missions. And what if? I don't think this is the particularly likely scenario. I think it's the first one, but it's kind of fun to think about. Hey, what if they surprise us all October 9th and drop Squadron 42 on us? Pretty freaking cool if that happens. I'm not saying it's gonna, but I'm not saying it's not gonna. Well, that's it for me. Thanks again for watching, guys. Give me a follow. If you have any theories of your own, I'm really interested. You can hit me up on Twitter at longscope_. Don't forget the underscore. Or you can leave a comment on YouTube, where I'll be hosting a copy of this as well. Search for Mike Longscope. There I am. I don't have enough subscribers to rename my channel yet, unfortunately. Well, toss me a subscribe if you want. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys watching, listening, and I'll see you in the verse.